Going on every. But little technical difficulties here to start this show. But we're missing our man Mookie at the moment. I have Mario Granada from #Sports joining us as usual on the Saturday Night Tailgate. And tonight we have a special guest, former Seattle Seahawks running back Robert Turbin. Rob, thank you for giving us your time tonight. We truly appreciate it.
Hey, no problem. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate that.
Yeah, man. It is an absolute pleasure to have you on. But this is a huge game. Regardless, this is a huge game going in for both the Seattle Seahawks and the Buffalo Bills. Whenever I have a guest on the show, whenever we pull people on from other teams that have an exterior point of view, it's always interesting to hear their thoughts on what has gone on with the Buffalo Bills over the last handful of years, from an exterior point of view, if you will. Now, just in your own words and your own thoughts, how do you feel the Bills have done with this rebuild of sorts from, maybe the perspective and the opinions of people from outside the building a handful of years ago compared to now? What do you think of what they've done?
Well, I think they've done an excellent job. First of all, they went out and they found a coach in Sean McDermott who's very successful, been successful around the league as a defensive coordinator. I believe he won a title elsewhere before going to Buffalo. You can correct me if I'm wrong on that. But it starts there. And then what do you got to do? You got to find yourself a quarterback. Obviously, Josh Allen coming out of the draft there. You could say, well, they could have got this guy or could have got that guy. Fact of the matter is, he's continuing to grow. And he's continuing to lead this team. And I think that organization feels like they have their quarterback for the future. And then, after that, obviously you fill in the necessary roles in other places that pertains to the football team. But look at the results. They're 6-1, 7-1 this year. They made a great trade this offseason, getting some weapons for Josh Allen to throw the ball to. All that kind of stuff matters. Winning, in my opinion, at any level, really starts from the top down. Ownership, and then it trickles down from there. And if you have great ownership and you treat your people, with respect and everything like that, you run your organization professionally in the way that it should be run, and that trickles down all the way to the coaching staff. And then you bring in the right players obviously, to fill in the kind of vision that you have for your team, the kind of personalities that you want as it pertains to your organization and your football team, then that's a really, really successful recipe for building a successful franchise. And so I think the turnaround's been great. It's good to see the Bills winning football games and being the top of their division again.
Absolutely. Now, Mookie Hawkins, fashionably late, better late than never. Mookie, how's it going?
All right. Better late than never, man. You know me. I done put it off. I done made. I'm like Coach McDermott. We done found the way. All right. We done found the way to get my man Turbo on deck. You know what I mean? It was all types of stuff. I think we had to go call Georgia so we could do a recount so I could send my man that link so he can get right to get on here. And we got my man Turbo
Good. I appreciate
on
it.
deck.
What's up, man? I apologize for the technical difficulties. I was trying to get right over here, but we all good now. We good to go. It ain't how you start, it's how you finish.
Right. Right. And speaking about how we finish, hey, Seattle can use your services right now. I don't know what's going on with them and running backs.
Well, if I'm being totally transparent, and listen, I don't have anything against anybody who gets an opportunity or anything like that, but they went out and got somebody different. We'd been in conversation. I mean, listen, I still want to play. I still believe that an opportunity will present itself. But they went and got a different former running back, and I don't know how I'm supposed to feel about that, but it is what it is. It's the nature of the business.
It's the nature of the business, and me and you spoke about that last year at the Super Bowl. So here we are, 2020, man. Seattle is still, a juggernaut on offense. The Bills is finally up to par. We got a shootout, so to speak, at the OK Corral tomorrow. But you said that, it couldn't be. It might not be a shootout. Care to enlighten us on that?
Yeah, I think Seattle obviously this year has shown that they have a high-powered offense. They can be really explosive, and the Bills have shown that at times. But I don't know, perhaps if they're ready for a shootout type of game. Really, their bread and butter and their backbone is on the defensive side, and we've seen obviously in Seattle, especially in the secondary this season, they struggled in the secondary, which can turn into a big game offensively for the Buffalo Bills. But I really see this game being kind of tight. Sometimes Seattle kind of gets, when they're on the road, they tend to struggle a little bit, especially in the first half. I expect that this week, but I do expect them to kind of get rolling in the second half and win a close one, probably by a field goal, maybe a touchdown, but no more than that. Low scoring game though. I don't see it being like 35-38. I see more of a 21-17 type game.
Oh, because of Jamal Adams being back, right? So Jamal Adams back, then everything just go back. They're giving up like 360 yards in the air.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. Jamal Adams is a playmaker. Don't get me wrong. He's not known for his coverage. So he's not going to be able to help those DBs out there on an island playing in cover 3, going up against Stephon Diggs and some of the other weapons that they have. But he is a playmaker. He gets in the backfield. He can stop the run. Obviously, he can make plays in the passing game as well. Not really known for his coverage, but definitely an asset for that defense.
Yeah, absolutely. You kind of touched on Stephon Diggs and how the Seattle Seahawks could choose to defend him could be a big difference in how successful the defensive game plan is for the Seahawks and ultimately how successful their efforts are as a team. What do you personally think they could do to try and stop Stephon Diggs? Because to be quite honest, they're a little light there at corner. They don't really have those guys. And you brought up a guy like Jamal Adams who could definitely help them out a little bit. But like you said, he's not known for his coverage skills. But what do you think could be the ideal scenario in order for the Seahawks to try and contain Stephon Diggs and what he brings to the table?
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Shaquem Griffin is out too at corner. Is that right?
Yep.
For Seattle? Is he out this week?
Yeah, he's not in.
He's out this week. So, so they're thin at corner. Listen, the best thing you can do is probably double him. If you double him, obviously you leave everybody else on an island. But that's football. You know, really, football is all about winning your matchups. When you get to this level, it's like, you know, most of the guys really are going to be on the same level. It's about winning your one-on-one matchups each and every play. You know, I wouldn't necessarily leave guys on an island out there on Stephon Diggs. But remember this too, Seattle plays more of a zone defense. They're not really a man-to-man type defense. They play cover 3. So you can have Quandre Diggs back there. He's the one playing the middle. Perhaps he can cheat over to where Stephon Diggs is playing. But you don't want to be doing, you know, you really don't want to do stuff like that the entire game. But I'm sure in certain circumstances, maybe third downs and things like that, who's the guy that you want to take away? Stephon Diggs. Although I think, you know, Beasley's more their third down. That's the guy that they look for in the third down. But you're going to have to trust Bobby, those linebackers, and whoever's playing the nickel. I think it's Amadi, or I can't pronounce his last name, but they're going to have to, you know, they're going to have to D up on defense in order for this team to be successful on Sunday.
Used to be. So, with that being said, I know my guy DK Metcalf. I don't want him mad at me no more because, you know, I was interviewing Coach Carroll, you know, on Wednesday, and I was trying to blend it in. I was trying to blend in talking about DJ Dallas, but DJ Metcalf came out.
That was you?
Yeah, that was me.
I was wondering why he tweeted that. I was like, damn, who he getting that like that?
Man, I had to go in this DM, man, and say, yo, bro, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to come out that way. I don't want no man to go off on our DBs, man, thinking like I can't say his name right.
Yeah,
you know
man,
what I mean?
He might really go off now just because of you.
All right. I mean, I still gave him some props. I asked the coach how good he sleep at night, knowing he got, you know, DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. But you know, I mean, hey, it slipped out. You know, when you in them scrums, man, you got to get in and get out real quick. So I was trying to get my question off, man. It just came out that way wrong. So
it's all good. I was covering the Niners a couple weeks ago, man, and I was talking about Jermichael Hasty, but I called him Jerick McKinnon. You know, I got him mixed up. So it happens. It happens,
right?
It's part of it.
I know everybody was wondering like where that came from. You know, I kept that under wraps. But if you go to the clip, you hear me say clearly DJ Metcalf, and I'm like, damn, I hope nobody pick it up. But him out of all people picks it up.
Oh yeah. I mean, listen. You learn quick when you get to the league to pay attention to all details.
Yes, sir.
When you're young, so we got you. It's all good though.
Well, I'm really intrigued to see that matchup between Trey White because, hey, last year we was talking about Trey White was, you know, potentially the defensive player of the year. He got his bag now, so it's games like this where it's money time, you know, and he needs to rise to the occasion. And, you know, it's big boy ball, and, you know, they in our backyard. So that's one of the matchups that I'm really intrigued about. How do you think, how would you play a DK Metcalf?
How would I play a DK Metcalf?
Mm-hmm.
You remember when the Saints lined up like it was punt return against Calvin Johnson. They had two DBs side by side pressed. That's how I play him. I play him like a jammer on punt return. But listen, you gotta, you know, with a young receiver like DK, obviously he's very talented. He's got a bunch of skill and everything like that. You got to test his mental a little bit. You know, obviously do what you do. You don't want to do too much. You know, in football, you want to stick to what you're good at and everything like that. But, you know, listen, Russell Wilson has seen a bunch of things, but DK has not. Mix the coverages up a little bit. You know, maybe show something on tape in the game. Show something in the game that Seattle hasn't seen on tape. You know, make them think a little bit. Perhaps, you know, it's going to be hard to get into the mind of somebody like that. But it's different when you're just, you know, you're not really concerned about getting into his head, but you're just scheming, you know, against a really good receiver. That's one of the ways I think you take him. Obviously, you can double him, but I'd like to see the Bills do some things that they haven't done all season long. Not only to stop DK, but to really get into the minds of this Seattle offense who has been explosive all season long.
Mario, what's your take on that, Mario?
Well, I mean, if there's one thing that the Buffalo Bills have been somewhat consistent about the entire year on their defensive side of the ball, I know everyone's a little bit upset about the run defense and what's been going on there. You got a new defensive line coach, Eric Washington, there trying to kind of bring in a little bit more cohesiveness as far as the defensive front is concerned. But as far as the back end, one thing the Buffalo Bills defense has not allowed is that huge play over the top. And that's because you have those two hounds back there in Poyer and Hyde playing over the top of whoever they're playing. So that is going to benefit the Buffalo Bills, which in turn is, I think, that Lockett becomes more of a threat than Metcalf in this game. I mean, Metcalf is not a human being. I still haven't figured out what he's made of, but that guy is not human. I don't think he's from this planet. But what you're going to do is when you have Matt Milano that's out and, Lockett being very good at running those crisp routes underneath, and he's able to weave in and out of coverage and find those zones where Buffalo Bills, they don't want to – you don't want to blitz Wilson. I think you give him the answers to the test if you blitz him. So in that respect I think if you have to play zone behind it, the Buffalo Bills have been good playing the deep ball, but Lockett is going to eat a lot on Sunday, and that's the guy that I'm worried about more than Metcalf.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. That's why I mentioned mixing the coverages up and just showing some different looks that you haven't seen, that the Seahawks haven't seen on film. Listen, Seattle knows what they're up against tomorrow. They've been watching the tape. Show something different. Show something different that Seattle hasn't seen on tape this year, and the Bills can have some success. But I tell you what, you talk about that Bills, defense in the secondary being so good, having allowed the big plays. They haven't seen a team quite like Seattle. Tell you that. So it'll be a good test for both sides.
So Robert, let me ask you this: if you had to pick, and you're looking at, because the Buffalo Bills, and you know as well as anybody that it's all about matchups in the NFL. If you're looking at what the Buffalo Bills, the defensive game plan that they went into, I didn't really agree with it against Kansas City. If you were to match up the Kansas City weapons against the Seattle weapons, how would they match up? And do you think that this could be comparable as far as the weapons go for what KC and Seattle has for Buffalo? Because Buffalo might try to do the same type of defensive philosophy. Mahomes only had 2.25 throwing, but they ran the ball for 7 yards a clip. So How do those two teams compare in your eyes?
Well, listen, obviously they're both really explosive offensively. I have to give the edge to the Kansas City Chiefs, as far as like who's better. They're the champs. They're the champs for a reason, and so until somebody knocks them off, they have to remain number one. I'm glad you reminded me about that game. The Bills did a pretty excellent job against Pat Mahomes, and that offense in Kansas City, except, for the run game. They forgot about the little rookie who has a little bit of talent. So no, they definitely deserve some props there. I'm sure Seattle has really been looking at, what they did in that game. But the offenses are really different as well. Think about it. Even though Kansas City ran the ball really, really well that game, that's really not their MO. It was one of those things where it's like, but they're like, well, this is working. So let's just keep running the ball. Let's keep handing the ball off. For whatever reason, we're not throwing the ball well. I think there were some weather implications during that game. Correct me if I'm wrong, right?
Yeah, it's a little bit, yeah.
A little bit, right? I don't know if there will be this Sunday or not, but I'm sure that played into the passing game a little bit. And so we'll have to see. Whereas Seattle offensively, like, go back to Kansas City for a second, they like to line up in the shotgun. They kind of like to let, Pat Mahomes kind of do his thing, no look throws and all that kind of thing or whatever. But if the running game is working, they go to it. Seattle really on offense, they're kind of doing this new thing, let Russ cook or whatever, but still the basis of their game is run first, then play action pass, and then kind of let Russ do their thing. And so, listen, if Seattle's able to get their run game going, which will be tough because they got a couple guys out, I think they'll be explosive offensively.
Now, Rob, I'm not sure how inclined you are on what Buffalo weather is like in the first week of November, but
it's cold.
I'll have you know it's going to be 70 degrees, sunny, without any wind tomorrow. And this is the first game this season that they played in Buffalo that there hasn't been any kind of weather.
That's
what was that?
Perfect football weather. That's like
perfect football weather.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous.
Wow. Yeah.
So both teams are going to have their entire offense at their arsenal, at their disposal, with no implications on the weather. And we haven't really seen, it's been a couple games since that's really happened for the Bills. There's always been a little bit of weather. And with the offensive side of the ball, we saw the first month of the season how this offense can light it up vertically with their passing attack. But last week, we really saw what this offense can do when the running game is rolling on all cylinders. What facet of this Bills offense concerns you if you're the Seahawks defensive coordinator going into this game?
Yeah, to me, it's play action pass if you're able to get the run going. If you're able to get the run going, if Buffalo is able to get their run game going, you have no idea what's coming next with that Buffalo Bills offense. Now, if you can stop the run and make Josh Allen, sit in the pocket and make him beat you, you have a better chance. The difficult part of it is for Seattle's defense, which they've historically struggled with, is Josh Allen is not only is he mobile, but he can really run. I mean, Josh can really run. Seattle historically has struggled with, quarterbacks with that ability. And so, listen, I can sit here and say, stop the run, make Josh Allen beat you. But if you can't make him sit in the pocket and throw, if you allow him to get outside of the pocket, use his athleticism and that big arm, that Seattle defense is going to really struggle on Sunday.
And yeah, not only that, you start to look at, guys that up close and personal. Bobby Wagner seems to be a neutralizing force for anything. So if Allen does try to run, Wagner, to me, is still one of the top linebackers in the league, if not the top linebacker in the league. And then you got Jamal Adams coming back, who, if you want to try to ease him into that role when he's coming back, you can try to play man and bring pressure on Allen and assign Adams as a chaperone for Allen. If you wanted to do that, like you said earlier, the coverage of Adams really isn't the strength of his game. It's coming up in the run, sniffing around the box, coming in, stopping, blitzing. He does have 2 career sacks on the Buffalo Bills in the last 4 games. True, that was with the New York Jets. However, that's the type of player that he is. He's your Swiss Army knife. So if you needed to do something like that, that's something that he could do. And as far as Wilson goes on the other side of the ball is, I don't think just making Seattle one-dimensional is something that the Buffalo Bills can hang their hat on. Like, okay, we're gonna stop the run. We're gonna be committed to stopping the run against the Seattle Seahawks, but we're gonna try to make Russ beat us with the throw. What this guy? What was it? A couple of years ago, he counted for 80% of all the offense that happened, and it's not a guy that you want to beat you. And he can make just as many plays outside of the pocket that he does inside of the pocket. So I'm hoping that the Buffalo Bills defense stay in their lanes. They play very disciplined football. The only thing that I'm worried about is Brian Schottenheimer. He loves using motion. And one thing that the Buffalo Bills have been susceptible to is when a lot of teams run motion back and forth, they get out of their lanes, they get a little bit over aggressive sometimes. And that's the thing that I'm going to be looking for on Sunday is how much Schottenheimer decides to utilize the motion in the film that he has seen.
Yeah, those motions really it gives you a couple things. It lets you know what kind of defense your defense is in. Whether, man zone, it gives you an indication on that. It allows you to break outside contain from those defensive ends with those fly sweeps and everything like that. And that's going to be the big key as it pertains to both Russell Wilson and Josh Allen. Containing the pocket, keeping those guys in the pocket and not letting them break loose. Discipline, use the word discipline. That's going to be a huge word for both defenses in this game. Let's not forget, though, we're talking a lot about Jamal Adams coming back. I think the acquisition of Carlos Dunlap for the Seattle Seahawks, getting him from the Cincinnati Bengals, is one of the biggest under-the-radar moves out of all the teams in the NFL. Let's not forget that Carlos Dunlap is one of the top defensive ends in all of football. Doesn't get the notoriety because he plays for the Cincinnati Bengals. But when they were winning and they had Andy Dalton and that receiving core was healthy and they were making the playoffs, Carlos Dunlap was a huge part of that defense, and he still has been, and he always has been. So the acquisition of him to Seattle is huge. We talked about Jadeveon Clowney and Everson Griffin were kind of the 2 big names in free agency that Seattle was going after as it pertains to that, helping that pass rush, stuff like that. You can argue and say that Carlos Dunlap is better than both those guys. And so you look at that, that's a huge addition for the Seattle Seahawks defense, and that's why I kind of give them the slight edge in this game tomorrow.
Now I got I'm going to kind of override the episode here because I got kind of a personal question to ask Mr. Turbin here. Because I don't think we're ever going to get this perspective before. And what I've been talking about with a lot of Bills YouTubers and a lot of Bills fans, a lot of Bills analysts, is the fact that, well, we got to try to blitz Wilson. You got to try to get some pressure on him. Look what happened in the Cardinals game when you blitzed him and all this other stuff. I'm never going to get this perspective from anyone else except for you. Mm-hmm. As a guy who one of the unsung arts in the NFL for a running back is picking up blitzes and pass blocking. When I watch tape and I see the Bills running backs and Singletary and Moss, and they pick up the blitz and they're just chopping guys down, linebackers that are coming in, I love that better than a 10-yard run for me. Mm-hmm. What is one thing that you have seen being in that spot and what Wilson may or may not do, or what he tips off his running back? How do you protect Wilson against the blitz when teams try to pressure him or bring extra guys? What's one thing that you've seen?
I mean, what's one thing that I've seen that protects how to
protect Wilson? Yeah.
Keeping it simple, really, on offense.
Okay.
A lot of times, listen, teams blitz Russell and they say, that's the answer. That's the answer. And a lot of that falls on the quarterback and it falls on Russ. But, think about it. Walk with me here and think about it from this perspective. If you're a defensive coach and you say, well, their top two running backs are gone. So, we talk about running backs and we think about the run game, right? So as a defensive coordinator, Sean McDermott is sitting there saying like, well, if we blitz, if we bring more guys in the offensive linemen have to block, that means that third and fourth string running back have to, they're the ones in there protecting Russell. They're the ones in there protecting the pass game. So not only are you thinking about it from a physical standpoint, can a third or fourth running back physically dominate and hang with these guys if I blitz my players? Probably. I mean, we're all playing in the NFL, but from a mental standpoint, from, hey, I'm showing left, but I'm coming right. Or here's two guys that coming in the middle, but they're dropping, but the outside guys are coming instead. Mm-hmm. Or, you see two guys line up in the A gap, it looks like it's a double A blitz and one of the linebackers comes and the other one drops. And they do this thing where it's kind of like they call it like a pickle where, you got two guys in the A gap, one linebacker comes, one takes a step back as if he's dropping, and then he comes, right? What does that do with the running back? That takes his eyes off of that person, off of that linebacker, as soon as he sees him, quote unquote, dropping, and puts his eyes on the next guy. And then before you know it, he's blitzing. That's what the Arizona Cardinals were doing. That was really successful. Now, I will say this, historically, Russell and the Seahawks have not done well against double A gap blitz because there's just so many things you can do to it. It's like, man, these guys are lined up in the A gap. Are they coming? Are they not? Are they playing pickle? With the running back. That takes, in order to really dissect that, that takes experience. And you got a third or fourth string running back, in the game. If he's not a veteran, if he's a young player, that's experience that he doesn't have. That gives an advantage to Sean McDermott, and that defense. But, how do you protect Russell? You just got to keep it simple. You got to keep it simple. Sometimes instead of, putting everybody on a man, what you do is you zone block. You slide everybody to the left. You put the running back on the right, at the edge. And it just becomes like this one big zone blocking scheme, which kind of sucks if you're trying to throw the ball deep and do your 5 to 7 step drops or whatever. But sometimes that's what it takes to be successful.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at it on paper, I know that with Mike Iupati out, like you said, a third or fourth string running back, they're going to have a practice squad guard and a rookie third rounder at guard. And normally defensive tackles normally salivate over that. But I mean, they've been really good at protecting Russell Wilson this year. I mean, the guy's putting up numbers that would rival some quarterbacks in the Big 12 right now. I mean, 26 touchdowns, 71% completion percentage. Yeah. He's just slinging the ball all over the place. But yeah, I love that's the game within a game stuff. Why I asked you that, because that's so huge and could play a huge point in the game of what's going to happen. Where can those 3rd or 4th string running backs pick up the blitz if he's doing a 1, 2, or 3 call, and then they have to slide protection to left or right, or he's calling front man protections. Yeah. He's identifying the mic. He's doing all that stuff. So hopefully, I'm going to be watching that on Sunday. That's going to be one of my keys.
Listen, if I'm being transparent, which I always try to be, listen, I'm not here. I support everybody. Everything that I do, I do with 100% effort, and I do with love, And so, I'm not against, John Snyder and the Seahawks and all. We have a phenomenal relationship, whether they decide to sign me or not. They wouldn't got somebody else. But, I watched that game against the Cardinals, of course. I'm always watching Seattle. Bobby and I went to college together. Russell and I were roommates for 4 years. He's one of, those guys are a couple of my best friends in the world, and along with other people, other guys around the league. But I have a really close connection with those guys. And I'm watching the game, and I'm upset because, my not only is my brother getting hit, but I'm watching the game from a schematic standpoint. I'm not watching the game as a fan. I don't think I know I can anymore. Like when I'm watching football now, it's always like scheme and what's I'm almost playing the game, from the couch. And so I'm watching these guys miss protections, mental mistakes, not physical. Yes. Did I see some physical errors in that game where guys, got beat? I mean, we saw the video of what's the kid in Dallas, the running back, just completely get, ran over one time on a blitz. But you know what? That happens. Yeah. You're gonna get physically beat. Now, you don't want that to happen a lot, especially at the running back position, right? You want to be able to stand your ground and protect the quarterback so we can get the ball off. But listen, these guys were getting beat both physically and more so mentally. And that's what drove the conversation between, myself and Seattle. Say, hey, listen, I'm ready to go. Like these are simple, these are simple protection and things that I'm looking at here. But that's what it's gonna come down to, man. Are these guys gonna be able to identify those players on that Bills defense when they're coming or not, and then can they win the one-on-one matchup after that?
That's gonna be huge. I can't wait to see it. Man, I really can't.
Okay.
Listen, my man Robert Turbin is giving some great insight right now. You know what I'm saying? He like really some real great insight. And hey man, I wish I could just like lock you in and just have you here with us every week. You know what I mean? Because hey, you talk that good talk, man, that football talk that the fans enjoy, and you from that sauce. So you know what I mean? You definitely giving up, and we definitely appreciate, with your time and everything like that. But
Absolutely.
Utah State. It's Utah State, right?
Utah State.
Hey, you ever thought about coaching? You ever thought about coaching, man?
I thought about it. I know that they let the head coach go this morning at Utah State. It's really funny that you asked me that. Once again, if I'm being completely transparent, which I always try to be, is, I asked two of my really close friends earlier today. I asked them, this is exactly what I should have said. Should I apply for the head coaching job at Utah State? And I told them both, I said, don't answer me right now. I said, think about it. I said, pray on it. I said, pray on it. I said, let me know in a couple of days, because this is the thing. I'm being real. I love Utah State. I do. I go back. I do my football camps. We're working on a charity softball game to do out there. I love being a part of that community. It's part of my life. I got my degree from there. I wouldn't be I named my son after my running backs coach, Utah State, Elijah. And so, the city, the town of Logan, the school, it means a lot to me. But obviously, listen, I still want to play. I love doing my podcast. I love, doing TV stuff and covering football similar to this, doing radio and things like that. So, maybe it's too early. I've never wanted to coach at the college level, ever. I said, if I ever coach, it'd be high school. Number one, I'd coach for free, because I feel like high school is when you can really start to develop a young man into a man, really get him, really set him forward for the rest of his life, right? With some good values and things like that, regardless of their background and where they come from. College is just too much. Like it's recruiting and everything like that. It's a lot. But at Utah State, like, that's a play. And I'll say this too. Again, I don't like. I like Utah. I don't. I like Utah. I do. Okay. I don't want to live there though. Like, if I'm being honest, like I love Utah. I love to visit there. Like I'd like to have a cabin, but to live there, it's a really that would be a really tough decision for me. So, but we'll see how it shakes out. I have the number to the athletic director, Mr. Hartwell. Him and I have spoken on many occasions in the past, just because of all the work that I do in that community. And but it's funny you asked me that, because it's a conversation that I've had twice, actually 3 times already earlier today. So maybe that means something. Maybe that means something.
Mookie, Mookie. How do you ask? This man is still a young man. How are you going to ask him to get into coaching right now? This boy, hey, I'm glad he's not suiting up for Seattle. That's all I'm saying.
Hey, I had to ask him that, Mario, because you coach and I coach. So, he might want to bring us along for it, man. We got some recruits on this East Coast thing to blend that thing with that West Coast thing. We can get some things popping up in Utah State, but maybe we might have to live in Vegas.
Something in the off season. Something's got to give. Something's got to give in the off season, man. They got to give me some kind of some sort of leeway. But am I interested? Yeah. Listen, how many times? I mean, we don't see it often, but I mean, how old is the head coach at the Cardinals? And you know what I mean? Like, we're starting to see how old is the coach for the LA Rams. We're starting to see these early 30s, innovative, smart, hungry coaches that are young get these opportunities. You don't have to be in your 50s and 60s anymore to become a head coach. Yeah. You really don't. Do I feel like I could go and coach Utah State? Absolutely. Do I feel like there's a lot that I don't know that would need to, you bet your ass. I don't, there's a lot for me to learn.
Opening up some worms
and everything like that. But yeah, I'm definitely interested in that opportunity if it was there.
That's great.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey guys, anything y'all got left for my man Turb?
Rob, I really want to thank you for giving us your time. I really appreciate it. You're full of insight. You're a talented. You're obviously you're an incredible talent. You made it to the NFL. You played in the NFL for 8 years. You have a future in podcasting and covering football. Obviously, that is more than apparent after tonight's appearance. I didn't know you were doing podcasts. I didn't know any of that until you came onto this show. And I mean, hey, you really flexed your knowledge on this show tonight. I want to express my appreciation for you coming onto this platform and giving us your time and insight. And please plug any and everything you got going on and where people could find you and what they have to look forward to.
Sure, absolutely. I really appreciate the opportunity to come on. Anytime I get an opportunity to do this, like I said, I love doing TV and radio. I had my own radio show for 2 years when I was in Seattle, and so it's a lot of fun. But Turbo Talk is the name of my podcast. We'll be launching again. We're taking a brief little break right now, but we'll be launching again in December, first week of December. And it's live on Twitch. My podcast is live on Twitch, so you can watch all my previous shows actually on twitch.tv/Robert J. Turbin. And also my podcast is obviously on Apple, Spotify, anywhere you listen to podcasts. You can find Turbo Talk on there, as well as my YouTube channel, which is Robert J. Turbin. If you want to find me on social media, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, all that kind of stuff, it's all Robert J. Turbin. It's all under the same name. You can find me. I'm always looking to, for people to work with and partner with and develop relationships with and everything like that. And so, So yeah, man, guys, tune in. I encourage everybody to tune in. Like I said, we'll be back in December, and yeah, we'll have a great season two of the show.
Nice.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, I know sometimes people don't like to give predictions, but yeah, who's winning tomorrow, man? If Seattle wins, if Buffalo wins, if.
So I got Seattle winning. Okay, I got Seattle winning. All right, 24-17. Okay, if I don't, if whatever, if they play good defense, I don't know, but they would need to play good defense to hold the Bills to 17 points. But on the flip side, if the Bills win, I predict a 21-17 victory for the Bills. They've got an incredible secondary. I know that they struggle against the run, but I honestly don't think the run game is going to be an issue. Not saying anything negative about the running backs that Seattle has. I think they'll be productive. I just don't think that Seattle's going to rely on them to run the ball. It's not Carson back there. So, I don't foresee a guy carrying the ball 20 times the way that Carson probably would in a game like this. So it's not that those guys can't run the ball. I just feel like Seattle won't rely on them. They'll put the game in Russell's hands. But that's a tough secondary to go against. So it's either going to be 24-17. I will say 24-21 Seattle, 21-17 Bills.
Okay. I got a shootout at the OK Corral. Okay. I got a shootout going on. I got a 34-33. You know what I mean? You can't give a guy like Josh Allen time. And I know that's kind of like crazy to say. You can't give a guy like Josh Allen time because guess what?
I don't think he's going to have time.
Well, hey, he has his legs. He has his legs to make that time. And if
Wait a minute, Mookie. Wait a minute.
Hold on, Mario.
You mean you're telling me that if you give an NFL quarterback time, he can kill you?
You give Josh Allen. I tell you what. You give Josh Allen the ball last, and I'm gonna show you. He's gonna show you because guess what? He has 6 game winning. He had, and I ain't gonna be down 20, bro. 34-33 Bills. Josh Allen is gonna make that work.
Hey,
it's gonna make that work.
6 game winning drives in the fourth quarter. Is that what you're getting ready to say?
Yeah, you already know what I'm talking about. You already know. It ain't bad, right? Especially for a young guy. And he's at home. So, all the confidence in the world. He can listen to all the Elvis tracks before the game, poke his chest out, and hey, get to witness some greatness and be great at the same damn time.
All right. I like it.
Hey, it ain't bad at all.
You going to Vegas with that one? You going to Vegas with that?
I'm in Vegas right now. I'm in Vegas right now. I'm in Vegas right now.
I should have known when you pulled out that you had a little, whatever you were sipping on a minute ago. I should have known.
Yeah, a little green bottle of VSOP, my guy. It's Saturday. It's the tailgate. Ain't nobody jumping on no tables right now, even though they would right now. You know what I mean? We got to get you up here when all this stuff is over with, Turb. We got to get you up here so you can really get that really Buffalo experience, man.
I've never been to Buffalo. My rookie year, we had a road game against Buffalo, and it was in Toronto.
Right. 2012. Y'all kicked our ass. Y'all kicked our ass up there in Canada.
We sure did. Y'all, that was back when y'all had CJ Spiller and all of that. So I've never had an opportunity to go to Buffalo. Not yet, at least.
Sorry, I got you, my guy. I got you. Appreciate you giving us your time, man, and wish you well and everything you got going on. And I'm gonna hit you up, man, because we got some things lined up, man, with my guy Mario and Clay. So we got you.
All right, appreciate that, man. Y'all take care. God bless.
Yes, sir.
Take care, Robert. Thank you.
Take care. Thank you, man. Mookie, you out?
I got a little time to play with. I'm on a 2-minute drill right now. Like, she's really like a ride or die trooper right now. I'm just trying to tell you, man.
Oh, my God, Mookie. No one needs to know about that. I want to know if you were leaving or not. We don't need details.
Okay, now I'm going to give you a play-by-play. All right? But it's 1st and 10, and, I'm empty.
Okay.
I'm
All right.
really-
Speaking of 1st and 10 and empty, tomorrow's game plan could be very critical into
Yes.
whether or not the Bills win this game or not.
Yes.
So, Mookie, I want to know from you what needs to happen on the offensive side of the ball in order for the Bills to come away with a win.
Bottom line, point blank, period. The Bills just need to be aggressive. Like, play out of your mind. What do you have to lose? Play aggressive on special teams, offense, and defense, and see what you get. If we was 20% aggressive against Kansas City in certain situations on third down, it might be a different scenario. All right, we cannot respect Russell Wilson just because what he's doing against everybody else. And then what he's doing against everybody else is pretty much subpar 500 football teams as well. So let's not just give him credit for, they're not playing no upper echelon contenders, by the way. We're not here to kiss their rings, by the way. They give up 350 yards in the air. Okay, we understand that Jamal Adams is back. But guess what? If we want to be one of those upper echelon teams, they have to play aggressive. Do not respect the Seattle Seahawks at all at home. And if they do that, if they play out of their minds, they got a good shot.
Yeah, I like what you're thinking. Mookie, I'm thinking about it. I'm really hoping you're not getting catfish right now. I really
No catfish, no catfish, none of that. We at the crib. I wish fans would be there, but they got to step up. This is the game you playing up against a legitimate contender team. The Bills have to show up and prove that they belong amongst the best.
Now, Mario, in your opinion, what do the Bills need to do on the offensive side of the ball to come away with a victory?
Run. They need to run. I think that with the addition of Dunlap, he's definitely going to be a game changer in there, especially as well as Adams. I think the Buffalo Bills need to try to, as Robert said, they need to try to establish the running game because the play action and everything else comes off of that. I know the secondary for the Seattle Seahawks has been suspect, as Mookie stated at the beginning of the show, that they're giving up 360 yards a game against the pass. But then you got Adams in there, you got Dunlap to put the pressure on the quarterback, so you can delegate more players in the back end. I fear that the Seattle Seahawks, they're going to be running, they're going to blitz, they're going to try to bring pressure. In doing so, they're going to assign the personal chaperone of Adams to Allen. He has he's played against Allen 4 different games. Some of these guys on Seattle haven't seen Allen once. So you definitely believe that Allen's going to be in the ear of a lot of these defenders, a lot of defensive guys, and say, listen, I played against this guy 4 times. I know what he's capable of. You guys got to be disciplined in this and that and the other thing. So as far as the Buffalo Bills, I just think they have to let, as Mookie says, they got to let the M&M boys run. You got to let Moss and Motor. You got to let them. You got to set them off. And as far as the defensive side of the ball, how do you stop somebody that no one has stopped Wilson yet this year? I mean, the Seahawks, the Cardinals, as Turbin said in the beginning of the show as well, they were doing double 8-gap blitzes. And for those of you that don't know that, that's lining up 2 linebackers right on each side of the center, something that the Buffalo Bills have done in the past. So if they end up doing that, if you see the game and, Buffalo Bills on one of the first third down, and, if the Seahawks get behind schedule on 3rd and long, and then you see Edmonds and, let's say, Klein line up in the double A gaps, that could be something that they completely stole from the Cardinals and that they're going to try to implement in the game tomorrow. So I'm really looking at the game within a game, at what happens tomorrow. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. And, maybe it is a video game. Maybe it is a Madden type game tomorrow, but I don't expect that at all. I don't expect the score to be as low as Robert said, but I don't think it's going to be 55-50 game. I don't think it's going to be that.
Yeah, I agree with your point in the sense that this game, I feel like it's going to be won and lost in the game within the game. I think the plan is just as important as the execution going into this game. Not that there's much leeway going into any professional football game, but it is crucial this week that both the rushing attack and the passing attack are moving with efficiency. Both aren't being stalemated. Both aren't being stagnant at any point in the game. And you can bottle Josh Allen and Brian Dable up in the same sense with this, because if Bills come away with a victory, it's going to have to come from a 4-quarter performance on the offensive side of the ball. That's without a doubt in my mind. Because, Mario, you alluded to it. You touched on it. How are you going to stop that nobody has stopped? Well, the Bills haven't really stopped anybody this season either. And I don't think they're going to start off with a guy who's so far the front runner to win the MVP this season. And the one matchup that concerns me the most on the defensive side of the ball is slot receiver David Moore going up against Teron Johnson. And I really, really, really hope we don't see a lot of Teron Johnson this week because of the addition of Darryl Worley. Was he brought up for this game or no? No, he wasn't. He wasn't, was he?
I don't know 100% about that.
I don't think he was. So I think we're going to see plenty Teron Johnson in this game. I'm also interested to see, as I mentioned on the roundtable hosted on Hashtag Sports YouTube channel. If you don't already, go subscribe to Hashtag Sports on YouTube right now, where you can find Mario and Paul with all of the excellent content they do throughout the duration of the week. On that roundtable, I said that I wouldn't be shocked if we saw some Saran Neal lining up against DK Metcalf. Obviously, you'll need some safety help because Saran doesn't really have the straight line speed that DK does. But then again, neither does Tre'Davious White. But Trey White, he tends to flourish against these big physical wide receivers. That's never really been his kryptonite. It's really been more so the guys like Tyler Lockett. So I'm interested to see if they have Trey White shadowing DK Metcalf, because I feel like if they were smart, that's what they would do. They would have Trey White shadowing DK Metcalf because that plays to his strengths. Whereas if he were covering Tyler Lockett, I'd be a tad concerned. Speaking of Tyler Lockett, I mean, I don't think I can really sleep easy on it because you don't have Josh Norman. That's not really a big deal in this game, I think. But you brought up Dane Jackson. Dane Jackson's going to be in this game, and he's an aggressive man-type corner. And I'm interested to see if that's really the plan on the side opposite Tre'Davious White. You bring up Dane Jackson. And Mario, if Dane Jackson has another solid game, he's going to have to be on this roster. He's going to have to be. Someone's losing their job.
He brings an element to the defense that you don't see right now on the defense. With the outside of Tre'Davious White, who is a first-round pick, your franchise corner, Dane Jackson's a 7th-round pick out of Pittsburgh who was a former captain and who just flat out punches people in the mouth. He brings the physicality that you don't see anywhere else. He could migrate if Teron Johnson keeps doing what he's doing. Unfortunately, he's a guy that if they think Wallace is the CB2, he's a guy that could migrate to the slot corner. You know, if I was in a perfect world, if you're asking me how am I going to try to stop Seattle or slow them down, first of all, just for you, Clayton, the Buffalo Bills did not have Trent Murphy when they played the Kansas City Chiefs, which is probably why they ran for 7 yards a clip. I just want to let you know that. So I just want to throw that in there for you. No, I'm just kidding. But the point is this. Here's the point. In a perfect world, here's what I'm doing. You don't have any Matt Milano, okay? You mentioned Siran Neal. Love that idea. You got a 75-year-old Greg Olsen that's going to be playing tight end. So it's not like you have the threat. So if we're comparing, I'm comparing them to Kansas City now, okay? So you talk about Tyreek Hill had 1 catch for 5 yards. Travis Kelce, who nobody can cover in the league, so it wasn't really the Buffalo Bills' fault that they couldn't cover him. You look at the matchup between Kelce and Olsen. It's not really a matchup at all. But then you got DK Metcalf, who's the decided, guy. And you look at how the Buffalo Bills have been playing in the back end. They haven't really gave huge plays, down the field. So in a perfect world, what am I doing? Well, I'm running a 4-man front the way the Bills have run all year. I'm gonna put Addison out there. I'm gonna put Hughes out there. I'm gonna put Oliver, and I'm gonna put Jefferson to push the pocket. That's my first starting 4. Okay. On the back end, I'm just gonna have Tremaine Edmonds playing in the middle. I'm gonna have 6 defensive backs in this game. That's what I'm going to do. I'm gonna have Hoyer. I'm gonna have Hyde and Poyer on the back end. I'm gonna have Wallace and Trey as the corners. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put Siran Neal and, either Dean Marlowe or Dane Jackson in there as well. Because Marlowe is one of those guys where he proved last week he can go back and forth with Poyer and Hyde, and he can play a very effective role for you. Not saying that he's a 16-game starter. I'm not saying he's Hyde or Poyer. I'm saying he could be an effective player for you. You want to bring him down in the box? You want to have him shadow Olsen? That's fine. You want to put Siran Neal on DK Metcalf and then put Hyde over top of that, I'm fine with that. You want to put Dane Jackson in the slot to try to punch Lockett in the face, I'm good with that. I don't care of any of those things that you want to do. But to me, the only way to neutralize this, because you got to think, you don't really worry about Seattle's running game until you have to. Like Turbo said, they're running third and fourth string guys. That's gonna be really tough for them to pick up the blitz in that scenario. And if Edmonds is your only linebacker and you're running 6 deep, and you bring those guys up to the line and those guys up in the box, you're telling me that if you put Poyer on one side and Marlowe on the other side, let's say you put Poyer on the side of Hughes, you put Marlowe on the side of Addison. Who's coming? You don't know. But if you put Poyer on one side and you put AJ Klein on the other, you know who's blitzing and who's covering. So in that sense, if I'm the D coordinator, I know I got to have more coverage guys out there because Russ is lighting it up like a video game. You don't have to worry about the run until you have to worry about the run. You got a rookie and a practice squad guy playing guards, and you got a rookie. You're going to have a third or fourth string running back in there. They're not going to be able to pick up protections all the time. So what do you have to do? You have to remain disciplined on the ends. Hughes and Addison, if they play the way they played the last 3 games and how they've been disciplined coming up the field, not taking in cuts, if they're able to do that, you're going to bottle up Wilson. He's going to run directly into Jefferson and Oliver. You're going to have the game that you've been expecting for Oliver. Jefferson's going to come in there. You're going to be like, what one technique? And then Edmonds is going to keep guys off of him so he can roam if they happen to get to the second level in the run. You're going to have 6 guys in coverage. So I know there's a long-winded answer, and I apologize, but that's what I think would be effective against the Seattle Seahawks.
Oh, man, Mario, you don't have to apologize for analysis like that. You never have to apologize for analysis like that. That you answered the question. I had one question for when you were done. I was waiting for when you're done. What are you going to do about these DNs that can't keep contained? And you answered my question right at the end because you're just like, oh, I'm one step ahead of you. That's always, every single time. Yes. I love it. You know, yes. Yeah, I was thinking about it throughout the whole week. Even after I was on the roundtable, I was really thinking, you know, what really would be the plan to work that would work against this team? And, you know, they're onto their third and fourth string running back. And I think that's a huge thing going into this game. DJ Dallas, he was a 4th round draft pick, so they might expect him to contribute in some facet by this point in the season. But it's obvious that's not what their preference is. That's not where they'd love to run their offense. There's a reason Carlos Hyde is still on this football team and he's still getting some carries. There is a reason for that. So I think DJ Dallas, his head's going to be spinning back there when it comes time to protect Russ. I think his head's going to be spinning. I don't think he's going to necessarily, you know, be schematically inclined in that way that either Chris Carson or Carlos Hyde would have been. So I tend to agree with the 6 defensive backs, given the fact that you're thin at linebacker. It's not like you have Terrell Dotson. You didn't bring up Darren Lee for this football game, so you're stuck with your top 2 linebacker. You're not going to have Matt Milano coming in on 3rd down. So he's completely out for this game. He's completely out for the next 3 weeks. It's apparent that he had a setback in his injury this week at some point during practice. That's what I am assuming, because nobody is getting rotated into the game here and there and then just completely put on IR, deactivated after one game where it didn't really look like he was aggravated. But, you know, we're closing down the hour mark. Mario, how much longer you want? Are you willing to talk?
I'm always willing. You know, I'm always willing to talk football.
So
we going bold in predictions, or did
no? I got really good analysis from you on the offensive side of the ball, and I'm looking at this defense. And I've looked at this defense all week, and I don't know, man. It's really concerning for me. It's really, really concerning for me because, you know, Josh Allen, one of the best traits that he has is his mobility, is his ability to get out of the pocket and improvise and make something out of nothing and get the defense moving, get his receivers involved when he's making improvisation throws, specifically Cole Beasley in that regard. But when I look at this defense and I see players like Carlos Dunlap, who are notoriously really good at keeping contained on mobile quarterbacks. That's for a really long time, ever since Carlos Dunlap has been in the league. That's what he's really known for, is being able to be a really good contained player. Have we seen Josh Allen get the better of him, though? Yes, we have. But he is a good contained defensive end. I see players like Jordan Brooks, Bobby Wagner, KJ Wright, fast, athletic linebackers. KJ Wright isn't as athletic and as fast as he used to be, but he's still an athletic linebacker, and he's moved into that Sam role, and Jordan Brooks plays more of that will linebacker role. And then I also see a player like Jamal Adams, who they oftentimes, more than not, use as a linebacker almost, or use as a situational blitzer. I see a player who is very versatile in that regard. He's not the greatest cover safety, but when they bring him up in the box, he's probably one of the 2 best safeties in the league, contributing in that role. So with this defense, I don't know. Do I think that the Bills can have a successful day? Absolutely. Without a doubt, I think the Bills can have a successful day. But the athleticism of this defense really concerns me. And that's where I really believe that if they don't come out of the gate with a balanced approach, if they don't establish the rushing attack at all, I think this defense is going to eat the Bills' offense alive. If you come out there and you try and throw the ball 45 times, I think the Bills lose this game handedly. I don't think this one's close. I think if you come out there and you see Allen throw the ball, I'll set the benchmark at 30 to 33 attempts. I think if it's in that range, you win this game. If it's over 40, you're going to lose. That is if you want to call it my bold prediction, I don't think it's very bold, but that is my prediction, that if Allen throws for over 40 times in this game, you lose.
Well, obviously, if the Buffalo Bills, they're not going to have a similar game as they did against the New England Patriots, where Allen can only throw 18 times and they're going to rush 40 times. Obviously, if he's not throwing as much, that means the run game is working and it's being effective, and you're able to control the clock and keep Russ off the field. Obviously, that would be the thing. As far as what I think, I like to respectfully disagree with you. I think the fact is, Allen's going to have to throw 40 times in this game because of the power of the offensive power that the Seahawks happen to have. I think it's going to be a necessity for Allen to throw 40 times because of a lot of things that you said. You talk about a guy in Bobby Wagner who's probably one of the best sideline to sideline linebackers in the league. You talked about KJ Wright. He's not what he used to be, but the guy, what he lacks in his speed, he makes up with his instincts and his experience. And then you're gonna talk about Jordan Brooks. You know what college he went to?
If I remember right, it's one that's not very good at playing defense. I remember. He
went to Texas Tech.
Texas Tech, yeah, that's what it was.
What do they do at Texas Tech? And in that conference, they throw and run the spread. All this guy was built to do was run all over the damn field and cover. So, in that respect, you think he could probably take out the tight ends or wherever's the tight end going on, or if Wagner, so to leave Wagner and Adams to take care of the run. So if you think of it in that respect, Allen's going to have to throw and pepper the ball over the field. One of the unsung heroes of this game could be Gabe Davis. Could be a guy that you don't account for because they're going to account for Diggs. They're going to account for Brown. They're going to try to take away Beasley in the slot. So who's a guy that's left? Maybe Gabe Davis is a guy that gets matched up on a linebacker, gets matched up on a third or fourth corner. So he could be a guy that could really make some noise in this game because I don't think the tight ends are going to make a lot of noise in this game. I think they're going to try to take Diggs out. And Adams and Wagner are going to be all around inside the box, to stop the run. So one of the guys that you have could be Davis, who you may have to rely on to catch some passes out of the backfield. With the over-aggressive defense of the Seahawks, of the guys that you mentioned, we could see more screens by the Buffalo Bills that we've seen in recent weeks. You could see a few more draws. You could see maybe those quick hitters to the outside where they run a trip set, and then they run both receivers up, and Beasley just runs right behind him. Allen catches it right away and throws it to him. So anything to take some pressure off of that line and to take pressure off of, Feliciano and that front five. I don't know. But like I said, I'd respectfully disagree because I think he's going to have to throw 40 times because of the amount of points that will be scored in this game.
Yeah, well, that's reasonable thinking. I see where you're coming from with that. It's definitely more than reasonable.
I don't know. I'm so scared of this game, though. This game. But this is a litmus test for you, though. Let me ask you this, Clayton. You're asking questions. Let me ask you one. Is this as we talked about before, because we talked about this with the KC game, because we still have a little bit of that defeatist attitude. I mean, you can't erase, at least for me, I can't erase 17 years of no playoffs like that. And I know a lot of the Bills Mafia and the cold front, and everybody agrees with me. But here's the thing. If the Bills happen to lose, I'm just saying, if the Bills happen to lose, how they lose will be a factor for me. How they lose will be a factor. If they play 4 quarters of solid football and they lose this game 35-28, like you said, what Clayton has been asking for 7 weeks now, I want them to play or 8 weeks. I want them to play a sound 4 quarters of football offensively and defensively. If they do that and lose 35-28, I'm not going to hang my head going into the bye week with this team, because right now you got to think Seattle is one of the top 3 teams in the NFL.
Yeah, it's a tough question, because that's really been the tightrope we've been walking these last 3 weeks. Oh, well, how much do we take away from an 18-10 win against the Jets where you didn't score a touchdown? How much do you take away from a 24-21 win where you had a play go your way on the final drive where you very well could have gone overtime or lost? How much do you take away from those? Well, every game is different. Every game is unique in its own way. That's the beauty of football. That's the beauty of all sports. Every game is unique in its own different way. It's all about the matchups. It's all about the teams and how they match up top to bottom, offense, defense. And this is a good matchup for both of these teams. Yes. And you mentioned it at the start of your point that this is the litmus test for the team and where they're really at. And I couldn't agree more, because the other 2 times we have seen this team go up against Super Bowl contenders, it has been a lackluster, piss poor performance where this team wasn't there. It wasn't the same team that we had grown used to seeing, not even just over the first couple of weeks, over the last couple of years. Like they weren't there. It didn't look like their mental space was correct for either of those games. And, now coming into this one, you have a game where you're home. The weather isn't crappy for the first time. I feel like every time they played in Buffalo this year, it's been either wind gusts, rain, it's been wet turf, it's been all sorts of stuff every time they've had to play in Buffalo this year. It's been unfortunate, but it is what it is. You have to play with conditions. But you finally have a game where you don't have any inclement weather, where you don't have to deal with not a drop of rain. I don't even think they're going to hardly deal with a cloud tomorrow. So you have your full offense at your disposal. You can throw the ball around. You can sling it around. There's no excuses in this game. That's really the point that I'm coming to, that this is going to tell us a lot about this football team. And you just asked me, would I be content with a 35-28 loss in which this team played solid football for 4 quarters? I'm never content with a loss. I really don't. I don't like taking moral victories away, but I understand where your mindset is. I understand where it is, because get this, a competent game from this football team in a losing effort means a lot to me, because it gave us a sign that they're capable of competing with top-tier talent. Whereas in these last 2 games against the Titans and the Chiefs, I don't mean the last 2 games. I mean the 2 games where they played Super Bowl contending teams. Yes. Where they played those sort of teams, they look completely lost. Those were not good performances, which is why the 2 people on your screen right now are sitting here both saying we're nervous going into this game, because it could be what we're talking about right now. A 4-quarter dogfight where it's like, okay, this is going to be a good one, or it's going to be like Tennessee. And I don't know how to feel going into this game. I know there's mismatches, but really this falls down to the nitty-gritty of football. This is a game where you're going to see every inch that counts. You're going to see every possession count. You're going to see ultimate maximization of talent, and you're going to have to see execution and coaching at the highest level for either of these teams to come out with a victory. And I could be wrong. I could be wrong. Seattle is experienced in this game. A lot of people try and bring up that caked up thing of, the teams they beat have a 40% win percentage. I believe that's what it is, 40%.
That was me. Yep.
Well, no, that's not your only point. So that's why I can't really just look at you and be like, oh, Mario said that. What an idiot. True. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I am saying, though, is yes, those teams have a 40% winning percentage, but the thing is that the Seahawks have years of sustained success, proven that they're a solid football team. And I understand those teams have that 40% win percentage, but good teams find ways to win those football games.
Yes.
Good teams find ways to win those football games. I mean, how many times do we see the Lions lose by 3 points? How many times do we see the Lions lose by 4 points? And they're just like, well, that's the Lions. They lost. They messed that one up. They did it to themselves. That's the Lions. Whereas with the Seahawks, we're saying, okay, yeah, this is a Super Bowl contender, and they're sitting at 6-1 because they're a solid football team, and they found ways to win those games. I understand where the point is coming from because we constantly hear it about the Bills. We constantly heard it the whole first 4 weeks. And to be quite honest with you, it's kind of not aging well because you're seeing how this team has looked against tighter competition. I wouldn't even really call it tighter competition, but the 2 times they had to play really good competition, they didn't look good. And these past 2 games against the divisional opponents haven't looked extremely well. This is a game where you need to see a comeback game for this team, where you need to see a team that's on the same page, not just in the same book. You need to see this team firing on all cylinders, and that's what's going to happen if they walk away with a win tomorrow.
Yeah, if you want to look at it in this respect, yes, the 40% win percentage of the teams that they've beaten in their 6 victories and the 80% win percentage of the 2 teams that they lost to. I can go a couple different ways in this. Obviously, the Buffalo Bills for the Jets game, it seemed like they had more talent than their opponent and overwhelmed them with that talent. And I understand that. If you want to talk about Miami's not as bad as everyone says they are. Okay, Miami's a pretty solid football team, as are the Rams. What did the Bills have to do in that game? They went out to a really, really good lead. They lost the lead and then got it back. Okay, now you want to talk about the 2 teams that they lost to, which were AFC representatives in the AFC Championship game last year. And now you're talking about Seattle, and they're up against Seattle. They have the offensive firepower that rivals Kansas City. What did the Buffalo Bills do against Kansas City? Well, you quote-unquote, held Mahomes to 225 yards passing. The defensive game plan, I didn't disagree with. I disagree with the execution. If they could have held Kansas City to 4 yards a carry, which is still a lot, they possibly win that game. If they're able to hold them to 4 yards a carry, not 7, 4, they win the game. That's ridiculous because they were a 3rd and 14 away from being down 23-17 and going in to try to win that game, but they couldn't get the ball back. And I understand that. What I didn't like was their lack of execution against Kansas City, which is the Super Bowl, champion, and Tennessee, who was in the AFC Championship game. They look like they just didn't want to be there. That's what I have a problem with. So if they go in and start firing punches left and right at Seattle and they take their best shots at them, remember though, we have to remember this. This is not an AFC conference game. So if Buffalo Bills were to lose this game, it's not the end of the world. Just as Seattle, if they lose to the Bills, it doesn't affect their division, doesn't affect their conference. They're not going to care as much. They'll be 6-2 with an AFC loss, AFC East loss, or an AFC conference loss. They're more concerned about losing to the Cardinals who's in their division. That's what they're concerned about. Buffalo Bills are currently 4-0 in their division, and with that loss, they'll be 6. They'll be 6-2 in their or they'll still be 6-2 in their conference, even if they lose, because they'll be 6-3 overall. Wait, no, they'll be 5-3 in their 5-2 in their conference. I'm sorry, because they beat the Raiders. Point being is this: there's very little pressure on both of these teams. I'm concerned how the Bills play. If they lose, I'm concerned. And like you said, there's no moral victories, but if the Bills win this game by 21 points, am I going to think that they're going to win the Super Bowl? No more than I did before the game. You need consistent effort, consistent play to win the Super Bowl. And that has to – I'm not confused, Daniel. I'm just making a point. You're conflicted and I'm confused, apparently. My point is this, Daniel. The Buffalo Bills have to come out with a solid game plan. They have to play solid 4 quarters against this team. That's what we're stressing about. And why Clayton and I are so conflicted and confused is because they have not put 4 quarters against a quality opponent yet. That is the concern that's coming out of my camp.
Whoa. Do not get ahead of yourself, Mr. Granada. They have not put 4 quarters against any opponent. Good, bad, awful, worst, first, doesn't matter. No opponent. Not the Jets, not the Dolphins. It doesn't matter. Nobody.
Well, no. The first 2 quarters in the first Jet game and the last 2 quarters in the last Jet game, those are 4 quarters of solid football, I would say.
I'm not going to put you on the burner like I wanted to. It wouldn't even be your ass on the burner. So it's
no. I'm just messing around. But like I said, if there was your bold prediction was that if he throws for over 33 attempts, they're gonna lose.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I had a show that I went on. I went on Dan Mitchell's show. We talked to a couple Seattle fans. It was actually a lot of fun. I think my bold prediction for the game was that Allen was going to have more passing yards than Russell Wilson. And the score was going to be 31-28 Seattle, unfortunately. Now, the reason why I said that, one of the Seattle podcasters actually started choking on his water when I said that Allen was going to outpass Wilson. And why I said that was that, and I gave my example of Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott last year for an 8-8 Dallas team had over 5,000 yards passing. You know why? Because they were losing in a lot of games and he had to throw. 300 yards, everyone was salivating over last year. I didn't care about 300 yards. I don't care. I really don't. But I think that they're going to be down 31-21 in the third and fourth quarter, and Allen's just going to start slinging the ball all over the field. And that's where he's going to surpass Wilson, because I don't think Wilson's going to have to throw for 300 to beat the Bills. I just don't. Yes, Stefan, I apologize. I don't normally pick against the Bills, but I had a bad feeling about Tennessee. You're talking about the Kansas City being the Super Bowl champs, and then Seattle's just such a hot team right now. Just really quick, though. Russell Wilson is 92-42 in his career. 41 of those victories have come when the score is between 0 and 7 points. That's what worries me, is the fact that Wilson and Carroll have figured out how to adjust, especially when games are tight. Okay? And I understand that. Allen hasn't figured that out yet. Even though he does have really good fourth quarter comebacks, it's making the adjustments in the third quarter are going to kill this team if they're not able to do that tomorrow.
Oh yeah. That's kind of where I was going with the fact that this is a team that, yes, they're 6-1. Yes, they're winning close every week, but guess what? That's a team that's facing adversity every single week against professional football teams. And that is very, very valuable experience. I'm not like Mario just said, Allen's experience in those scenarios has been impeccable. It's been great. He's been great when called upon on a fourth quarter drive, on a drive to tie, on a drive to win, what have you. He has been incredible when put into those situations. But this is a Seattle football team that it's not just it's not just Russell Wilson. It's everybody. Everybody is firing on all cylinders when they need to come back. Everybody is doing what they need to do when they're in adverse situations. And, they face it and they persevere and they find a way to win these football games. And I agree with you that's really what concerns me, because if you told me that it's coming down to which quarterback gets the last drive, I feel like they're as even as it's ever been when Josh Allen is involved with the Buffalo Bills. It's as even as it's ever been. And that's including the teams that they've faced in the past. I don't know. This game is very nerve-wracking for me. You're going to find out a lot about this team. You are. That's why, Daniel Gary's in the comments was saying we're confused, we're conflicted. That's really why, because this is really where you're going to learn a lot about this football team. You're going to find out if that Tennessee game was a fluke, if that Chiefs game was a fluke. You're going to find out if they can have resiliency to those sort of games. Last week, my main concern for Josh Allen going to that game was him possibly having the yips, being nervous, going up against Bill Belichick and what have you. Yeah. But that didn't really come into play because he only threw the ball 18 times and he managed the offense very well, turning it around and handing it off to his running backs 28 times. I love the game plan in that game. This game, he's going to have to be called upon if you're going to come away with a win. I didn't say that if they threw it for over 20 times, they need to throw it over 20 times. They need to throw it for about 25, 30 times in this game if you're going to win. I don't think they win if he throws over 33, but you need a balanced approach, I think. I think, Allen, if you can incorporate play action pass with efficiency and with schematic timing, I think you're going to eat this defense alive, and you're going to get chunk plays, and you're going to see Stephon Diggs have a big game. I'm nervous for how this defense can hold up. I think it really will come down to which defense can get the most stops. I feel because we said that going into Kansas City. I remember having that conversation with you. We said that it's really going to come up to which defense can make a play, which defense can get off the field, which whatever defense. I'll make this bold prediction. Whatever defense has the most 3 and outs forced, they win that game. I understand that might not be extremely bold, but if one defense gets off the field quickly and they're rested and they're giving the offense the ball and the offense is moving with time of possession, that is a winning recipe. And I feel like that's really what it's going to come down to in this game for both teams.
Yeah, I think you're going to – and you're probably not old enough to remember this. This isn't a knock against your age, but I don't know if you've seen any Tyson Holyfield bouts when they used to fight. It seems like the Bills feel like they're I'll pause so the chat can make a biting ear off reference, but no, here's my point about it. Holyfield, when he was the champ, was the more consistent. He's been there forever. He's been doing things the right way. He was, he always outlasted everybody. That to me seems like Wilson, and you know what? Allen seems like Tyson. He's waiting for that one big punch just to knock somebody out, which if Allen throws an 80-yard bomb to Diggs on the 3rd play of the game, that could be a dagger for this defense. I mean, even though there's a lot of game left and Russell will never let that happen, it could be one of those, you flinch. You know what I mean? You don't want that to happen again. So then for the rest of the game, all the underneath stuff is open and Allen's just picking you apart. And then when you finally cover all that stuff, Allen starts running. So it could be that one huge punch at the beginning of the game. I would not be surprised if the Buffalo Bills tried to take advantage really, really early in this game to try to hit a home run on one of the early possessions to try to, make Seattle flinch a little bit and think about, wait a minute, this is the 3rd play of the game. Maybe our game plan needs to adjust a little bit right now. And once they do those adjustments, that to me is a mark of a good OC, is the fact that you try to do something when they're not expecting, not just the outnumbering, like you do on plays with either side. Okay, it's always a numbers game and this and that and the other thing. You try to read the defenses in front of you. I understand all that stuff. But to try to do something outside of the box that your opponent has no clue about it. I'm not talking about running a flea flicker. I'm talking about you just do something like that and hit them, knock them back a little bit and say, whoa, we weren't ready for this. What else do these guys have? We didn't expect this. We've expected the same type of dink and dunk offense that we've seen for 8 weeks out of the Bills. What's going on here now? So I'm very excited to see what happens on Sunday. 3rd, 4th play of the game, if the Buffalo Bills throw a bomb and they score a touchdown, it could definitely change the landscape of the game. I
couldn't agree more. I really couldn't. Now, with your prediction, are you sticking to that 31-28 Seattle?
I gotta do it. I think that Allen ends up, completing a bunch of passes on one of the final drives. The Bills try to get the onside kick, and they just can't stop them. But they're down 31-21, and Allen drives them down for another score, and then they're unable to capitalize on that. So
I haven't really been looking forward to a Sunday like this probably since week 1. I really haven't. Just this week, it's just been so stressful for everybody. Everybody's on edge with the election and what have you. I'm not going to get into any of it, but it's just been such a stressful week from start to finish. And, we finally get to just sit down and watch football on a Sunday again tomorrow. And I really, truly cannot wait to just watch this game. And hopefully it doesn't go the way Mario and I are predicting it to go, because I don't have the Bills winning this game either. I'm sticking to what I said on his roundtable show. I like being consistent. I'm never right, but I'm always consistent. I'm going to say the Bills are going to lose this game 37-23. I simply just can't pragmatically predict them to look competent against a Super Bowl caliber football team. I really can't. I can't at this point until they put it on display. They show me some level of competency against a Super Bowl caliber team. Then maybe I'll predict them to beat them. But until then, I don't think I don't know. I haven't seen enough from this team to think that they can go out there and compete with Seattle or tick for tack. I don't think I think they get ahead of themselves in this game, and ultimately coaching and execution ends up being the reason they lose. I really don't think this is going to go the way for the Bills that we all kind of hope it will. I hope it's a game to what Mario thinks it's going to be, with a 31-28, and they lose, and we have a solid 4-quarter performance. But either way, I just don't see them winning this one.
Yeah, hopefully we're wrong, guys. We want to be wrong when we pick against the Bills, but as I don't know, as Clayton would say, as pragmatic as it is, we
trust me, everybody. I want to be wrong about Trent Murphy and AJ Klein. I really do. And Brian Daniel. I want to be wrong about all of them.
Yes, believe me. So, I think, you mentioned the election. I think someone said, I can't remember where I saw it. Someone said, if your election lasts this long, that you have to call a doctor. I couldn't. I was dying when I heard that. But I'm excited to see the game. I'm excited to see what's going on with the make sure that you check out hashtag for our post game immediately following the game. Paul and I will be virtual and a little bit different. What we're going to do we're going to announce it on our community page. For those of you that are in here, all the Hall of Famers, right after the post game, we're going to be doing our Zoom call with all the Hall of Famers as well. So we'll make sure to get that link out to you guys, as well as the hashtag heroes. Channel members, 100% of the channel membership is going to be going to the Punt Foundation, Brian Moorman's Foundation for Children with Pediatric Cancer. So if you want to become a hashtag hero, after you hit the subscribe button, you join one of the memberships, and all your proceeds will be going to the Punt Foundation. So it's a great charity, and I couldn't be happier. Paul and I couldn't be happier with that. But is Lee active for this game? How dare you fire? How dare you?
He's talking
Lee
about
Smith?
He's talking about Darren Lee.
Darren Lee. Okay. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, Darren Lee's not active. No, I don't believe he is.
No. Yeah, Mario, it's always fun on the tailgate. Robert Turbin, wow, that was a hell of a guest. That guy knew his stuff. He's ready to play too. That guy's jacked. He is ready to play.
Yeah. I loved going toe to toe with Robert. That was a lot of fun.
Mookie really outdid himself even from the club. That was awesome. Even
in the champagne room, he was able to deliver.
only with fashion. You see, I knew he wore those glasses out when he goes clubbing. I knew he had to. He had to. There was a 0% chance that he would go out without that he'd go out without those.
Was he partying on a boat? I didn't know why he was wearing the life vest. I'm just wondering.
Hey man, maybe he's got to get a captain hat with it. He's got to get a captain hat.
Oh my God, that's phenomenal.
But everybody that's watching, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching with the Saturday Night Tailgate Show. Be sure to follow the Cold Front Report on Twitter it's at Cold Front Report. On Instagram, it's at Cold Front Report _Bills News. And right here on the Facebook page, it's Cold Front Report, Buffalo Bills News. Be sure to go over to hashtag sports on their YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button. All the excellent work they do. They'll be having their post-game show, like Mario mentioned, after the game tomorrow. We'll also be having our post-game show probably around 8 or 9 p.m. With Fred Kilmartin, Jeremy Turner Montgomery, and myself. And hey, this is going to be a fun game to watch. Hopefully, it's going to be a nice Sunday. It's going to be a nice, relaxing Sunday. I hope everybody stays safe, stays healthy, and hey, go Bills.
Go Bills.